Okay, welcome to Soldering 101. To make your own chassis, there are many ways. The old timers will show you what they used to use is what's called quadrant paper, which looks like this. And then after that, what you would do is you get a sheet out and go ahead and draw your chassis that you need on there. Then of course you got to stay within the 5-inch limit between the center of the rear axle to the wheelie bars. That's as far as you can go, but you draw out your draw it on here, and you can see once you bend your wire, it will fit right on to the paper, and then you can go right ahead and solder. I chose to take it up one step, which is make my own board. I have a cut right here where the guide flag is going to go, and then after that I have some posts set up where my rear axle and motor mount are going to hook up to. So now what we're going to do is we're going to start by first of all cleaning up the soldering iron, because you want a clean tip on your soldering iron. I suggest you get a sponge, make sure that it's kind of wet, and then what you do is you run your tip. As you can see, it's kind of dirty right now. You want it kind of, be nice and clean and shiny and ready to be used for when you go to solder. So now, what we're going to do is we're going to start with the process of what's called tinning. Tinning is a process used for soldering. When you can solder two things together, it's a good idea to put a little solder on the item that you're going to solder, on each of the items that you're going to solder. That way it'll make it easier to apply. Our first thing will be is to work on putting the bushings in. So what you're going to do is you're going to put your bushing in. You're going to run your axle through your bushing. And then you're going to put the other bushing on. I've already done the tinning on these, so it should just go a little bit easier. I'm going to apply a little flux on here. There's different brands of flux you can use. Everybody has a choice. You pick one that will work with you, or for you I should say. So now you go ahead and start heating it up, and the bushing will sit right in place as soon as all this solder starts melting down. There we go. Then apply a little solder on here just to lock it into place. Take your wire brush, give it a quick swipe to get any excess solder off. Spin your wheel, make sure it's still spinning freely. Remove the axle, put the axle back in through the hole where you just soldered. And again, start the process again. Set your bushing in, make sure it's sitting in there. And you've tinned everything. And then you just go ahead and heat it up a little bit of solder. And the bushing will fall right into place. Watch it, because things will get hot on you. Spin it around, and you want the wheels to just spin freely. Now go ahead and remove the axle. And now you're going to work on your chassis. Okay, so now you've set your piano wire that you've bent. Set your front axle, line it up with the front. I use masking tape to hold some of this stuff down. You can use other things if you wish. Now I'm going to set my motor mount in place by putting the axle back into where the bushings are.
There he is, Tom Petty's I Won't Back Down here on 103.7.
And I'm going to set it in here with the pegs, and you can see that it holds really well into place. You might have to make a few adjustments to make sure everything's in properly.
11 Mustang and some cash to go along with it.
And make sure your tape holds into place. Now,
3, you can win $100.
What I need to do is do a little bit of tinning, so I'm going to remove it again.
Ford Mustang.
Now I know everything's tight. I'm going to apply a little bit of flux on each of the areas. I'm going to put a little bit of solder.
Details on our homepage, 1037.
The tinning really helps a lot. Some people don't like to do that, and it's fine, you know. Again, clean your tip before using it. Anytime that you need to use it, make sure it gets nice and cleaned. As you can see, it's nice and clean. Take a little bit of solder, just a little tiny bit, and run it on top of the area where you're going to put your motor mount. Repeat the process for the other side. You don't have to go too crazy with the solder. A little bit goes a long ways. What you want to do is you want to just make sure it flows nicely. Okay, now we're all set in place. Make sure everything's centered. Apply a little bit of more flux right here where you can be soldering.
Chat with a farmer's insurance agent to see how you can
again, just a little tip on the soldering, and just run across the brass and piano wire. What you want to do is you want to have a nice even flow of solder going across. Then you turn it around, make sure everything's still lined up like you want it. You might have to hold it. Again, a little bit of flux, and make sure your tip is clean by wiping on a sponge. I use just a regular sponge. Make sure it's wet. Again, the tip nice and clean. A little tiny bit of solder, and just apply it. I might need a little bit more.
Thousands of dollars. It's the loan for hire, only from Chase.
And there we go.
Designed to reward you for growing your business. Visit a branch or go to chase.com/loan-for-hire.
After you're done with this, what you can do is you can move your flag where you think you might need it. To do this, just take the body that you're going to be applying, center it on the rear, and then you figure out where it's going to be up in front. Make sure that you'll have enough room to put the front axle on.
With my phone as
again, let's do a little bit of tinning first.
I'm making things more beautiful, one tweet, tag, and upload at a time.
Clean
Light
tip.
is my inspiration, and Signal is my muse.
And now, for a limited time, take advantage of this extraordinary deal. Buy the Droid Incredible by HTC.
And of course, you spend a little bit of time beforehand, and you sand it down all the areas where you can be soldering, like on the piano wire and on the brass motor mount. Now move your guide back into place where you think it should go. That will take a few times for you to learn how to do this process, but after a while you just get the hang of it. And here we go. Give us a little bit of solder. And just a little bit more solder on this side. And just let it flow into place. There you go. Now go ahead and pop your masking tape off. And wire brush all the areas where you got the solder. At this time, what I would do is I would take it and run it under some warm water and soap and remove all the flux acid, because after a while it will rust your chassis. So polish up your chassis with like some kind of pad or sandpaper, something like that, and then apply WD-40. So here basically is your basic chassis built, okay? You can add some more things to it. You can add a cross piece in here. You can add another cross piece back in this area here. It's fine. Just make things sturdy. The next step you will have to do is add a piece from the motor mount back to the end of the wheelie bar, which I'll show you on the next step. Okay, I'm closing down for now. This is the end of part 1.
While families